Good morning. Let's do a little recap. This mimer talks about Shabbos. There's a saying from our sages that if the Yidden will keep two Shabboses, then Mashiach will come. There's another saying, teaching in Gemara Yerushalmi. The first one is from the Babylonian Talmud, but the Jerusalem Talmud tells us that if you keep one Shabbos, then Mashiach will come. Which one is it? And we explained that in truth, there's two elements to Shabbos. There's a lower Shabbos and a higher Shabbos, which requires explanation, but that exists. So really, they're not arguing. It's one is talking about Shabbos as a whole, and one is getting very specific to keep both elements of Shabbos. To understand that, we need to explore that Shabbos in general is the idea of elevation or upgrading. Shabbos upgrades the prior week. Specifically, all of our davening, all of our tefillahs from the past week go up and get elevated. Our goal in davening is that it should go up, right? So on Shabbos, it goes up even higher than it did during the week. Shabbos has a certain holiness to it that does that. Not only is the davening going up, but all the ma'asim tovim and the Torah that a person learned, the mitzvahs that he did during the week, goes up a level, reaches a higher height when Shabbos comes. To understand that, we need to understand in general, what does it mean elevations? Get higher, lower, what's this all about? So the neshama comes down into the body from a very high place to a low place, and the purpose is because it's going to have an elevation afterwards. Right? The neshama is going to benefit something through this whole journey of coming down into this world.
Called what?
The neshama, the soul, is going to benefit.
Journey.
Yes. And once we get into that, we have to first explore the general idea of Hashem's relationship with this world. Because we know, of course, Hashem is involved in this world, but his essence is not what's creating this world. In the sense of Hashem is using a shine of what's called his name to create this world. The more a person realizes that the amazingness of this world is not the essence of Hashem, although it's Hashem, but it is let's turn off the sound. But it is a shine, a ray of Hashem. The more we're excited to do Torah mitzvahs, the more we love Hashem, that we have a relationship with him, and the more we realize his greatness, because all this is like beyond, it's only a extension to shine. He used the example of the sun. When the sun shines into a building, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of windows open or you close the windows, the sun is unfazed by it. It doesn't change. Like, I'm not shining today because someone closed the window. It's irrelevant. Or if the clouds block the sun, it doesn't make the sun any less. Why? Because what you're seeing here is just a small shine of Hashem. Just to be clear, it's not that Hashem is not involved in this world. He's very involved in this world. He's active in this world. It's not on autopilot. But which part of him, so to speak, it's not the essence self that we get through a mitzvah and we get through davening and we get through connecting the way we have that relationship, but he's using an extension. Then he explained that everything that is created in this world happens through words. Asara mamares nivra ha'olam, Hashem created the world with 10 utterances, and these 10 utterances, they're constant, but they're creating everything that we have in this world, even though you don't find those names, those items in the 10 utterances. But if you rearrange the letters, you'll find any name in Hebrew of any object you could trace back either through gematria or through rearranging of the letters or through other formulations, atbash and so on. You'll find the origin of that thing. But the idea, another important piece, and this is where we're up to, is that as it comes down, it has a lot of changes. So it's not necessarily the same raw, intense format as when Hashem created it originally. We're good?
I mean, I'm assuming on a basic level, we couldn't handle the raw format.
Yeah, but true. Yeah. That's general why there's tzimtzum and altogether, because the world wouldn't, not just we can't handle it, it wouldn't be a world, just be beyond. If you change it up a little bit and you filter it in the perceived sense, and it's contracted and so on, then it could do it. This helps us understand another interesting thing. If the name is who you are, also important to say, it's not who you are, rather we're saying that it is, make sure the sound is...
That's not a Zoom share unless there's WhatsApp notifications in the background.
Oh, we turn that off. I just exited. Um, the idea is that the name of something, and this is an important piece, the name of something is not what it is, it's only identifying what it is, but it's identifying it in the sense of this is the energy that's coming there. We use the example of body and soul, right? The soul doesn't have a name. The body doesn't help if it has a name. It doesn't mean anything. The name is the connection between the soul and the body. It's the identity of this energy that's coming from the neshama to the body and the fusion. It's called John Doe.
It's called what, Rabbi?
Any name. Pick a name. Yerachmiel. Now, what he's going to say next is this is, or help us understand, this is why you have two people that have the same names, but they don't have the same character necessarily. If all, Baruchs are blessed, then, or Baruch means blessed, and that's how you have this, so they should all be the same. So let's look inside. Therefore, you have many changes in the world. I am a part of the Shara Shemes, in Pardes, which Kabbalah talks about, the gate of names talks about this. You have two names, that the letters of them are equal. And nonetheless, one of them shows on a very, very high level, etc., which means the other one does not. And look there, the reason, he explains it. But the point is that because it goes through many stages, there's different ways how it could manifest into this world. The same Baruch, or even the same letters, but it's rearranged. So a name means a lot of different things. It's a shine, and just like a shine, you could have a shine in this intensity, in that intensity. It comes down differently. Similarly, we'll understand why in this world you have two people. Their names are the same. And nonetheless, they're not the same in their qualities. Why? Because it's not the essence. It's a flow of energy. And that flow has many ways that it could come down. It can go through different stages. It can have more tzimtzumim on the way down. It's similar to what we say about a neshama. If a neshama is essence of Hashem, so how come a tzaddik has this amazing neshama and other people have a little bit less, or a different type, or less sensitive? Essence is essence, doesn't change, right? Here we're saying it's a shine. That's the essence. We explained that it has layers. On its way down, it gets packaged, if you will. And sometimes the packaging is very, very thick. So the sensitivity of the neshama is less intense. And by tzaddik, it's much less packaging. It's not coated as much. So it comes down and it's in the raw form. In addition, we have neshamas that come from Atzilus, which means it's more of a direct flow from Atzilus to here. Like it says, Moshe Rabbeinu was a neshama of Atzilus. It's brought in Chasidus, I believe that the F.R.E.E was a neshama of Atzilus. However you explain the differences between the way they are, it's because on the way down, it has different coatings. There's certain things parents could do in regards to the neshamas of their children, to an extent, but it's even though it's essence, on the way down, it has changes that happen around it. The name is nothing in reference to the essence. In other words, the name of someone is an identity, but it's incomparable to who he really is. In this case, it's Hashem. He's the essence, and the name is a name or a shine of Hashem.
Wait, I think it's yeah. I think I lost.
Yeah. Maybe I just translated it. The name Eino Klum is nothing connected to Atzmis in regards to the essence of Hashem. Okay, thank you. There's the whole line.
Wait,
And it's
of Hashem or of the person though? He said,
well, it's in both, but in this case, he's already talking about so far it means in anything. His point is Hashem, but in any case, the name of a person is an identity. It's not comparable to your essence. It's considered to be nothing, like nothing, right? You could tell someone that your name is something else. It's not going to change who you are. You say until them, go and see the wonders of Hashem. It's the great wonder that Hashem, the infinite one, who sustains all the worlds constantly from nothing to something with speech, because there's a lot of parts to this, but the amazingness is nothing to something, and only with speech. Asher some shamais ba'aretz. We brought this pasuk Wednesday that we explain the names. Hashem is using his, so to speak, name, his shine to create the worlds. In Tehillim, it says shamais ba'aretz. Asher some shamais ba'aretz. He put shambles in this world, which means a certain level of destruction. Now, what it really means is this whole world is nothing compared to Hashem. It's shamais to Hashem. But the word shamais, it says al tikri. There's a kriya and ksiv, the way it's written and the way it's pronounced. So it's pronounced shamais, which means shambles, but it's or desolate stuff. But you spell it shemais, which means names. So really, it's showing you that what Hashem does through His name is nothing compared to the essence. It's like shambles compared to the essence. What He's driving home is the name of Hashem is a minuscule element of Hashem's shine. And from there comes this amazing world that's truly amazing. And it's from nothing to something, and it's with Hashem's words. Lashon shmama, a lashon of desolate. I said shambles, desolate, but basically nothingness. Because in truth, if you really want to get to the bottom of it, all of the worlds, from the highest, implying Gan Eden, higher worlds, Atzilus, the whole thing, even areas where you can't even have angels there because it's so spiritual, but they're creations. They're a world that Hashem created. So from the highest of levels, all the way down to the bottom, Hurak Shumama, it's desolate, Neged Atzmusa Yisbarech, which basically means it's worthless in reference to the Hashem's essence. Right? So we would think, Gan Eden, okay, there's Hashem, there's Gan Eden, it's important stuff. And then there's, maybe this world. He says everything is a creation. Once it's a creation, it's desolate compared to Hashem, meaning it's nothing. The essence of Hashem is infinite. It's not a creation. And creation is a totally different category. It's incomparable. Now, in Tehillim, don't say play on words, but it flows very well. David Melech is praising Hashem. Asher some shamais ba'aretz, you made desolates. Or there's probably a better word for this in this world, but it's all your name. In other words, your name did this. Whatever your name does, which is everything, is nothing compared to you. Their chayes is only from the names of Hashem. We also praise Hashem when we say Beka in Hashem, the creator or the rock of the worlds. The support, the creator, the rock of the worlds. The Ka, I don't want to say it's Hashem's name, but Yud K, Yud and a Hey, is implying that with a Yud, Hashem created the world. What's a Yud? It's a tiny, condensed, concentrated level of Hashem. So the world, as created as it is, and it's created from nothing to something, and it's like, watch this type of thing, is only from the Yud Nivra Elam Haba. With a Yud, the world to come was created. It's a very, very small, the smallest letter is showing on the smallest amount of energy. It's very concentrated, it's very intense, but again, it's not the essence of Hashem that's creating this world. It's Hashem, but He's using a mode that is a shine, a ray, His name. We continue in Birchas Krishma, which we said is a process. We're trying to daven to reach V'ahavta and actually have a love for Hashem, which is a mitzvah. To get to that, we went to Psukei de Zimra. We praised Hashem about this vast world. We recognize that this amazing world is only the name of Hashem. It's not even His essence. It's like not a big deal for Him, so He's huge. And then we get to Birchas Krishma, where we talk about malachim that are having their amazing experiences with Hashem. In other words, they're beyond excited with the greatness of Hashem. They can't even handle it. We explained that our nefesh habahamas, our animal soul, comes from the same place where these angels come from, which is from the animal side of the Merkava. And therefore, we're taking our animal soul, which is the obstacle here, and showing it that there's excitement even in your world, meaning even the parts the line that you come from, that they're amazed by Hashem, you should also get involved. We realize that if angels are getting excited, how much more so we humans should get excited. In other words, nothing should faze them. It's spiritual stuff. And then we get and we say, the creator of holy ones, Yishtabach Shimcha, your name should be praised. Shekol ha'aliyah shabachinas ukdeishim b'chol yem alucha sala. All the elevations that happen from the levels of ukdeishim, the holy ones, we said refer to the souls, which are praising Hashem eternally, always. Malachim, we don't say they praise Hashem forever. Neshamis, we say they are. They praise Hashem forever.
But I mean, Lachim don't die. What happens? You said it's not forever. So what happens?
They have a certain limit to themselves, to their existence.
But forever is a measure of time. Forever is a measure of time.
How do you want to say eternally?
Yeah.
Sela. Netzach, Sela, Va'ed. Three expressions. That's why he says, Beri Kedeshim, creator of Kedeshim, Bria Meyesh Me'ayin Liyesh, which is a creation, we say Beri Kedeshim, from nothing to something. Okay, we have a lot of references here, a lot of psukim, but what we find very often is Alter Rebbe says a statement, and then he backs it up, so to speak, with Kabbalah, with psukim, with Chazal, and each proof that he brings, this is how I see it, doesn't just prove it, but it helps us understand it even more, because you bring a Mishnah to show something, the words show you really what it's about. You bring Tilim, as we just did now, it shows you that the meaning and the words fit with both explanations that we just said and so on. So
a little bit. He brings a citation from the federal courts as well to support his argument.
That's probably next.
That's next.
Okay.
That's
from Chachma comes from nothing. When the being of the coming about of Chachma, which is the beginning of Ishtalshalos, because when Hashem created the world, there's a format that he's using, a structure called the Ishtalshalos. The top of that, the beginning of that is Chachma. It's the wisdom of Hashem, the first Sfira. The way that the Chachma, which was the beginning of Ishtalshalos of Ein Seif, so you got from Ein Seif to Chachma, which also has a process, but it's not the same way as Chachma goes down. Don't think it's just a link and each one works exactly the same way. There's similarities, but step one to get to Chachma is a much greater leap, if you will, or switch, than just going from Chachma down. It's a way of Ila va'alul. Now, it says it's like this. The way that this happens is a term called, maybe you'll help me with the translation, for Ila and Alul. Okay? There's cause and effect, which is Siba and Mesubav. Then there is Ila va'alul. He'll explain what it means, and we'll come up with a good word to translate it. Kimashal ba'adam, for example, a person. Sheyesh be'seichel umides, he has intellect and emotion. We're made up of intellectual side and a character side. Umachshava v'dibur u'maisa. Then we have thought, speech, and action. Shemishtalshlim zemizeh, which one come out of the other. In a healthy dynamic, you have your mind, then you speak, then you act.
Cognitive behavior therapy says exactly the same thing.
This is where they got it from.
That's right.
Zemizeh. Hine seichel atzmai, the seichel himself, nimshech umislabesh b'machshava, is enclosed in and comes from machshava. Okay, seichel, the whole intellectual situation that we have, comes from machshava level of a person. V'chein machshava ba'adibur, and similarly, machshava goes into speech. V'chein seichel ba'mides cholu, and also the intellect and the emotion, it all comes from there. Okay, that format, thought, speech, and action, that is a flow from Ila to Alul. Cause and effect is not accurate here, but it's the best word I can think of right now, which is Yesh Meyesh. So your thought leads to your speech, which leads to your action. That whole package, that's not nothing to something. What was in your mind, the Ila, came out into words, which is the Alul, the resulting aspect of that, which came out into actions. You could skip sometimes the words, you could just go from thought to action, but in your mind, you're speaking. The level of speech, not just when you talk to somebody else, there's two parts of mind. Like you could think something through. You decided to do it, that's talking. Not to yourself, but you're talking. But it goes through these steps from a yesh to a yesh. Something which was already is going to the next stage of being. It's not nothing to something. V'lo yesh me'ayin, it's not something from nothing, which would be creation, which would be Hashem's level, and so on. Ki ha'ila atzma nitfeses umislabeshes beha'olol. The ila, which in this case is the cause, which is the thought, is actually in the speech. When you say creating something from nothing, the nothing wasn't in the something. You created a new entity. It's the power to do it, so obviously something there, but it's not included in the yesh. It's non-existent. You're making something brand new. By machshava dibur ma'isa or by ila va'olo, it's already included there. You're just bringing it out. It's more than bringing it out. It's creation, but it's something from something, called the process of ila, the relationship of ila to olol. Okay, so similarly, hishtalshalus works in the same way. Similar, in a similar manner, the hishtalshalus of in Atzilus from Chachma and lower works in that manner of Ila and Olol. So up until Atzilus, or to get to that level of Atzilus, Hashem is creating something from nothing. It's a major switch. It's a shift. Then as it goes down, it's still new things, obviously, because you're taking the energy lower and lower, but it's going in a format where it's here and it's Ila and Olol. The thought is leading to speech, leading to action. The goal is to get to this physical world, to have enough divine energy to create a world, but not too intense so that the world could actually handle it. And it works in the way of Ila v'Olol, as it says in Zayar. As it says, you've made all of them with wisdom. Now, literally it means there's a lot of wisdom in this world. It's complex. It's intricate, right? But in Kabbalah, it means through Chachma, everything was created. Meaning it came from Chachma, then it went down to the next sphere, and so on and so forth, all the way down till Malchus, and then it went to the next world, and all the way down. But it all started from Chachma. So there was right, exactly. So there was a shift, a creation, some major move that brought the Chachma of Atzilus from Hashem, and then from there it started to go down. It's all through the Chachma. By a person, that's the way it should be also. Your mind should dictate everything else in your being. And people, we talk about the cognitive therapy, you call it?
Cognitive behavior therapy, CBT. Yeah.
And other things where a person focuses on something and their mind is very, very powerful. It leads to everything else. Now, it doesn't mean you're limited by understanding. You don't have to understand everything. Amunah is higher than understanding. But your mind is telling you, okay, now we're going to believe. We are accepting. We are doing. There's different aspects of the mind, right? There's the understanding part, there's the decision part, and so on. Shekol hahishavus, all of the existence, nimshuchu mehelam negila, they come from a concealed state to a revealed state. From Chachma. They all again were included initially in Chachma, and then it came down from there. So that's the one maimer that Hashem could create with. There's an interesting thing. We say in Pirkei Avos, it's actually this week, I think. Okay. Hashem created the world with 10 utterances, right? He could have created it with one. Why did he do it with 10? Because he wanted to give schar to tzaddikim who are sustaining the world that is created with 10 utterances. So you deserve like tenfold reward because you're sustaining the world that was created by 10, and vice versa for the Shayim, because they are destroying a world that Hashem created with 10 utterances. In other words, you're messing with Hashem's 10 actions. But the point is, the question of the Mishnah, you could have created the world with one utterance. It's not a question, it's a statement. You could have done it. Meaning, technically, it's all from Chachma, which is one utterance. But it goes through stages, so that it's considered to be all these other utterances that Hashem said. But really, it's all in Chachma. And Chachma is different, because the first being into Chachma, when Hashem brought it into Chachma, that was a type of leap which you don't have afterwards. Type of creation which you don't have from Chachma and down. Are we flying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, stuff. Similarly down here. Similarly, when Hashem decided in his desire, I want to create a world, that thought created the whole thing. It's done. Okay? Obviously, he used words, and obviously from there it went through stages, but in a sense, in the machshava of Hashem, it's not like, how do I do this? I want a world. It became a world. It's in the machshava. And in a sense, practically, it was in machshava. It was all there. It's in chachma. From there, it starts to go out or down into the various stages of the world. Now, obviously, Hashem wasn't limited to that. He could have just poof. There's been a world. There's reasons, but it goes through a flow of ishtalshlus. First, very, very spiritual, and then more physical, and then in the human being as well. The structure exists in all elements of creation.
Does Bria enter a world of Yesh after the utterances, or what? Is it after the earth? Can you? I just said something. Does that mean does that become a Yesh?
That is a yesh. Thank you. There's different stages. There's machshava is also in a sense a yesh, and Dibur is also a yesh.
So, because he's painting a distinction between Yesh Me'ayin and Yesh Me'yesh.
Right. Your question is the answer. In other words, what's Atzilus? Is Atzilus a yesh? It's a spiritual thing.
Yeah, not really. No.
But technically, it's a yesh. Right? It's a world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not physical. So anything that came about is a yesh in this context. What is it a yesh? Is it a yesh from yesh or yesh from ayin? So we're saying that in the process of ilah va'olol, yesh mi ayin, it's all yesh mi yesh from there on.
That's why I prefer to take my meals in Atzilus, because there's no calories.
How do you do that though?
I don't know.
Online. Okay. That's 9:02.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. Have a wonderful Erev Shabbos and Shabbos. And next Shabbos morning we'll learn.
I'm looking forward to catching the live stream tomorrow.